Hello, everyone. Um, Today is not random. I need you to receive that, not in the general and passing form of a pleasantness that acknowledges the idea without the full and grounded receiving of what it means that this specific reading found this specific Virgo on this specific day rather than any of the other days that preceded this one, without this reading finding them on those other days, today, not yesterday, not last week, not in the earlier period, when this reading might have arrived earlier and been received by a different version of the Virgo reading this now in the specific and current form of who they are today, after the days that preceded today, and the things those days contained for the specific Virgo. This reading found today, which is the right day, for the message that is waiting. The message was always going to arrive today for you in the specifically timed form of something that was held until the day that was right for it to be delivered to the specific Virgo. It was always going to be delivered to on this specific day, which is today. This reading has 4 layers. Stay for every single one, because the 4th layer is the message itself in the full and powerful form that has been waiting for the right day to deliver it, which is today. For the specific Virgo this reading found, Virgo, my beautiful Virgo, the message has been waiting for you, and today is the day it arrives. Welcome, and stay with every single word. The first layer, and this one is about the waiting in the specific and significant form of what it means that the message was held until today rather than delivered earlier. In the period that preceded today, when the Virgo might have encountered it, if it had been released earlier into the flow of days that led to today, I feel something in your energy that I want to name very precisely before anything else is delivered, because the naming is the foundation for everything that follows in the 4 layers. This reading is built on, you have been feeling alone in something, in the specific and interior form of someone who has been carrying something significant without the full and present awareness that they are not carrying it alone, in the guided and accompanied form of someone who has more support than the feeling of aloneness has been suggesting in the daily and interior experience of carrying the significant thing without the visible and confirmable evidence that the carrying is being accompanied by something larger than the person carrying it. The feeling of aloneness is not the accurate description of what is actually happening in the field around your life. Right now, I want to say that directly, and without the qualifying language that would soften the directness into something less certain and therefore less useful for the Virgo reading this, who needs the direct form rather than the softened form of what this reading is delivering. Today, you have not been alone in the specific and significant form of something that has been present and accompanying and working on your behalf in the invisible and behind the scenes dimension of what has been happening around your life for the full period. That the feeling of aloneness has been the primary interior experience of the Virgo reading this. The message that has been waiting is from that accompanying presence in the specific and today delivered form of something that has been trying to reach you in the form it is reaching you in now. Through this reading on this specific day, which is the day it was always going to reach you when you were ready to receive it in the full and landing form, rather than the partial and not yet ready form that the earlier days would have produced if the message had arrived then rather than today. Spirit is showing me why today, and I want to name the why in the specific and honest form that the Virgo reading this deserves from a reading that is delivering something that has been waiting to be delivered until the right day, which is today. Today is the right day because of what happened yesterday or in the days just before today, in the specific and preparing form of something that completed in the Virgo's interior or in their circumstances or in both simultaneously. That made today the day when the message could arrive and land in the full and complete form rather than the partial and not yet ready form that any earlier day would have produced. The second layer, stay with me, because this layer is about what has been working in the invisible and behind the scenes form on behalf of the Virgo reading this for the full period, that the feeling of aloneness has been the primary interior experience of the daily life. Three things have been happening in the invisible dimension that this reading can see, and that this layer is naming for this specific Virgo who has been in the feeling alone form of someone who was not actually alone, but who did not have access to the visible and confirmable evidence of the accompanying that was present in the invisible and working form of what this layer is now naming as the three things that have been happening while the feeling of aloneness was the primary experience. The first thing that has been happening is clearing in the specific and invisible form of something working to remove the obstacles and resistances that were in the path of what is arriving for the Virgo in the specific and approaching form of what comes after today, after the message has been received in the full and landing form, that today is the right day for things that were blocking the path have been cleared in the invisible and working form of something moving obstacles without the Virgo's knowledge or direction or active participation in the clearing that was happening while the feeling of aloneness was the primary experience of the daily interior life. The second thing that has been happening is alignment in the specific and coordinating form of something working to align the elements and circumstances and people that need to be in specific positions for what is arriving for the Virgo to arrive in the full and complete form rather than the partial and misaligned form that misaligned circumstances produce for the arriving thing when the elements are not yet positioned in the specific and required form for the arrival to be complete. The alignment has been happening in the invisible and coordinating form of something working behind the scenes. While the Virgo was in the feeling alone experience of the daily interior life, that did not have access to the visible evidence of the alignment happening in the invisible and behind the scenes form. And the third thing that has been happening is the most significant in the specific and personal form of what this third invisible thing has been doing while the first two were clearing and aligning. The third thing is protecting in the specific and active form of something that has been keeping the specific Virgo this reading found from certain outcomes and certain paths and certain situations that would have led them away from where they are going in the right and arriving form of what comes after today. After the message is landed, some of the things that have felt like losses or blocked paths or missed opportunities in the period that preceded today were the protecting working in the specific and redirecting form of something that was keeping the Virgo on the right path. By closing certain doors that would have led in the wrong direction for the specific destination that the clearing and aligning has been preparing for them. What felt like loss was sometimes protection in the invisible and redirecting form of something that knew before the Virgo did that the closed door was not the right door for the specific destination. The clearing and aligning has been preparing for the specific Virgo this reading found today. The third layer, stay with me, because this layer is the roadmap for what happens next. Now that the message has been received today in the arriving and landing form of what today was always going to be, for the specific Virgo this reading found, watch for this today, after this reading. In the ordinary flow of the remaining hours, something that confirms that today is different from the days that preceded it, in the specific and small form of something that arrives in the body as a quality of lightness or settledness or simple and quiet okayness. That was not the dominant quality of the days that preceded today, before the message arrived in the form this reading is delivering it in, for the specific Virgo it found. Watch for this in the next 7 days. 3 specific and visible confirmations of the clearing and the aligning and the protecting that have been happening in the invisible form and that are now moving into the visible and confirmable form of something that can be pointed to and recognized as evidence of what has been working on behalf of the specific Virgo. This reading found today, the day the message was always going to arrive. The first confirmation will come in the form of something that opens that was closed before, in the specific and arriving form of a door that the clearing made possible by removing what was blocking it, in the invisible and working form of the first of the 3 things that have been happening while the feeling of aloneness was the primary interior experience. The second confirmation will come in the form of something falling into place in the specific and settling form of something that has been slightly misaligned, and that suddenly settles into the right form that the aligning has been working toward in the invisible and coordinating form of what the second thing has been doing while the feeling of aloneness was present. Whew. And the third confirmation will be the most personal in the specific and recognized form of something that makes the Virgo understand in the retrospective and clear form of someone who can now see why a specific door or path or opportunity that felt like a loss was actually the protecting working in the specific and redirecting form of something that knew before they did that the closed door was not the right door for where they are going. In the 7 days that followed today, now I want to address something that I feel present in many Virgos reading this, and that deserves the direct and honest form. Some of you have heard, you were meant to hear this today before in a specific and multiple form of readings that told you that the timing was not accidental and that something significant was arriving. For the specific person watching, and that the significant thing arrived in the partial form or not at all, in the full and promised form that the reading was describing. Before the delivery did not fully materialize, I hear that history, and I am not asking you to abandon it. In the trusting everything form of someone who has not been in the specific and disappointing experience of readings that promised and did not deliver, in the full and complete form that the promising described. What I am asking is only this: watch for the lightness today after this reading in the body, in the specific and small form of something that is slightly different from the days before today, and let the 7 days deliver what they are carrying. In the 3 confirmations, this layer named before the conclusion about this reading has been formed in the too early form of someone who concluded before the 7 days had delivered what they were carrying. The 4th layer the most personal, and the message itself in the full and powerful form that has been waiting to be delivered today to the specific Virgo this reading found. I feel a question forming in you as the fourth layer arrives, and I want to name it. Whew. The question is not about the 7 days or the 3 confirmations or whether this reading is accurate. The deeper question is this: if I have been accompanied this whole time in the clearing and aligning and protecting form of something working on my behalf, why did it feel like I was alone? I want to answer that directly. Because the accompanying works in the invisible form, not the visible and confirmable form. That the feeling of aloneness requires to be countered in the direct and evidence-based way of something seen and therefore believed. The invisible does not announce itself in the visible and confirming form of something that says, I am here and I am working and you are not alone, in the direct and hearable way of an announcement that would end the feeling of aloneness by providing the visible evidence that the feeling requires to be countered. It announces itself in the retrospective form of the confirmations in the 7 days that follow today, and in the looking back at the closed doors that redirected, and the cleared obstacles, and the aligned circumstances that were working in the invisible form, while the feeling of aloneness was the primary interior experience of the Virgo who was not actually alone, but who could not yet see the evidence of the accompanying that was present in the invisible form the whole time. The message that has been waiting and that is delivered today is this: you are not alone. You have not been alone for the full period of the feeling of aloneness. That has been the primary interior experience of the Virgo reading this right now, on the specific day that this message was always going to arrive. The clearing has been happening. The aligning has been happening. The protecting has been happening in the invisible and working form of something accompanying you through the full period of the feeling of aloneness. That was the primary interior experience of the daily life that the accompanying was accompanying without the Virgo's full awareness of being accompanied. I want to give you something before this closes, in the permission form that the feeling alone, Virgo, reading this specifically needs today, the day the message arrived, permission to let the message land in the full and receiving form of someone who allows what they are being told today to update the interior experience of someone who has been in the feeling alone form for the full period preceding today, and who is now being told by a reading that found them today on the specific day that was always the right day for the telling. that the telling is accurate and the accompanying is real. And the clearing and aligning and protecting have been working in the invisible form for the full period of the feeling of aloneness that today is ending. You were meant to hear this today, and today you heard it in the full and powerful form of a message that was waiting for the right day, which was always today, for the specific and beautiful Virgo. This reading found you are protected and accompanied and not alone in the full and real and always been true form of something that has been present in the invisible form for the full period of the feeling of aloneness that today's message has just ended in the full and landing form of something received completely by the specific Virgo. This reading was always going to find today. Take gentle care of yourself, my beautiful Virgo. The message has landed. You are not alone. You were never alone. And the 7 days ahead are going to show you in the visible and confirming form of 3 specific confirmations that this has always been true. Drop a comment below and tell me what today felt like before you found this reading, because I want to know what the day felt like before the message arrived for the specific Virgo it found. And if this landed somewhere real, subscribe, because there is more coming for the Virgo who was meant to hear this today and who heard it.